like this, so it's really been it's in an ascending spiral. It's hard to see how it can get bigger than it is at the moment, to be honest. So now it's a case of consolidating and really building, making it secure for the future. Yeah, I mean, I think it's always the same with every first race. It's kind of a bit of an unknown.
I'm going to pause it right there for a second. So as you heard him talk about how he first got into it in the mid-90s and that there was a lack of it, and that now, it's at the pinnacle and it's really time to consolidate and make the future sustainable. And I appreciate that comment because, for many years, as you heard me mention, I rode my bike and I've done all this stuff, but I did it with only me in mind. I wasn't concerned because what unfortunately happened for me, and I'm sure for many people who ride bikes like an addicted junkie, it happens to them as well. I rode through all my friends. My buddies used to go up to Mount Pinos with me and, want to hang out and drink beer and, do whatever 20-year-olds do. And they stopped going when I started wanting to climb up the hill a little bit more, or when I started to get better bikes and their bikes kept breaking and they didn't want to invest in them. So you stop. I guess your ride group gets limited, and then depending upon how far you get into it, you make new associations. But realistically, if you're not willing to go out and just do it yourself, you won't get it done. And so you kind of get in that mindset, and that's good to get your job done, but it's not necessarily good when it comes to creating community. And not that everything is always, you have to always create community at every level of your life, but it for me at this age, I see the opportunities that I've had to give back. Going back to, I can go back pretty far, and I mean, I can go back to Grant Van Horn and just helping him get to races when he was in high school. He didn't need much more than that. Kid was a killer. He'd already been running track, and he went on to race for USA Cycling as well, and he went on to race for Waste Management as a professional cyclist. Let's see, Tyler, of course, Tyler Williams. There's a bunch of other young men who have taken that and done that. Now, at their young parts of their lives, this is great, but as you get older, you have the opportunity to maybe give that back. And so I think that's what's neat about what David is mentioning. The rest of the interview, he's talking about taking the pressures off. That's not tremendously interesting to me. What I'm going to play you, though, on this next piece is kind of reflecting back on our comments about, or my conversation or editorial, as it were, on doping in cycling. Biana is going to talk to us here about his time in cycling when he was doping. And it's interesting because, there was a call by Jan Ulrich here over the weekend, or it was on the 1st, so it was over Thursday, I guess it was Thursday last week, to reinstate Lance's medals because of the era he grew up in, or the era he raced in, was riddled with doping. So understanding Biana Reis won the year that Lance was gone and finished behind Lance several times and right around Jan Ulrich, and he is an admitted doper. And he's talking here about the first time. He'll mention some stuff, but he specifically mentions the first time he ever had to shoot himself up with just vitamins, and how daunting that was in general. So take a listen to this. And here we go.
As a young rider in that time, I think it has been something that just maybe natural came, because some parts it was a part of that history, and but to take the first decision at that time was very, very difficult. I remember, as I also riding in the boat, the first time I had to give myself an injection. That was not doping, that was just an injection of vitamins. And I sat there for hours and I couldn't do it. That's the first step to maybe something else. And that's a very hard decision, and a decision that can change your life maybe forever. Who knows?
So you hear him mention there how he was young and coming up and had his first inundation just being to shoot up, vitamins to recover. Because that's the key. And again, it's a job. It's a job that's based not only on how you can do today, but how you can do tomorrow and then the next 20-something days. So recovery is key. Just so those who don't know, Biana Reese is the manager of Saxoff Tinko Bank, or whatever the heck their name is. So he is still tied to cycling to this day, but it's with his honesty that they have allowed him to have this place back. And I think that's something that's different. We talked about it last week. It's different about, unfortunately, the way others have chosen to come out.
And yeah, it did for me. But at the time, you think about it, and it's difficult, yes. But when you get started, you don't reflect on it, because you think it's a part of that life. It's a part of the culture, and everybody else is doing it. You really can't go there. And after a while, you think it's just natural, and you don't really think about it's wrong. It's first when it's actually too late to figure out it's wrong and a bad thing. But I think this is how it was. Where I can look back and say, okay, bad decision. At that time, I thought, well, I have no other choice. Just do that. Because if I want to be at the top, I realized that this is what I need to do.
Well, that's quite profound. At least it's honest, Again, I emphasize how much it matters to tell the truth, in my opinion. So, just a couple looks from some guys who, are pro racers. One who is an admitted, or actually both who have been admitted dopers. But do you notice how they're both working in the system? And unfortunately, I think when you're not in the politico realm of the world we live in, especially with media, if you don't fall on that sword immediately. So it's interesting to see this A-Rod thing coming to head, because A-Rod has really stood his ground on, much like Lance. So I think that's what's sad, is that unfortunately he's gonna hit the wall here. Are we needing to pay some bills, Greg? All right, guys, we are going to end that bit of the show, and we're going to pay some bills, and we'll be right back on Savage Radio 89.7 FM. And now there should be stuff playing. Instead, I'm talking. And now, yes.
Sign welding.
Okay, guys. So let's try this again. We're going to pay some
American
bills.
Fabrication. Steel fabrication, stainless, carbon, and aluminum. Custom sign welding, shearing, press brake, and steel plate, and angle rolling. Powder coating is also available. The phone number
You know
is
what, though?
861-8495.
If you do them really
Located
good,
at
they leave part of the natural edge on the
4940
end.
Gilmore Avenue.
So when we make mistakes like this,
Where
it just
Toast
lets them
Kitchen
know that
and
this is
Lounge.
real people out here.
Burgers,
Yeah.
seafood, and playful menu options. Extensive beer selections.
Did you
and
want a
seasonal
song
wines.
after this advertisement?
The phone
Or go right
number
back
is
into talking.
Yeah, let's do a song.
2557.
I'll come in and then we'll do a
Located
quick song.
downtown
Okay.
at
Yeah, it'd be
1514
perfect.
Wall Street.
The
Between
flow's
I
going
and
great.
Chester. More information available on their Facebook page. Pretty Design and Print, specializing in designing and printing flyers, invitations, business cards, banners, brochures, vinyl stickers, magnets, and much more. The phone number is 487-0999 or email
Alright, you know what?
info@prettydesign.com.
Let's do this song.
Are you interested in being a Savage
should
Radio
announce it.
sponsor?
Yeah.
Becoming Savage Radio
I'll do it right
sponsor
before we
helps
hit
to
it.
keep us on the air, but it also adds community recognition to your business. Call our business offices at
We're just fucking up left and right this morning.
661-873-5784. That's 873-KSVG.
All right, guys, I got something special and hot right off the presses. This is a premiere off of Korn's latest album, This is something brand new. I'm going to let you guys hear it. Never, Never. It's Korn's latest single. First time on the radio. You're hearing it. iBikeRadio on Savage FM.
Already sounds better than the past shit I've heard. Dude. I didn't think they'd done anything good since Follow the Leader, since we were around them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's already better.
Hell yeah.
It sounds like more like the first stuff.
Oh, now I just figured out what the fuck the thing says. It's two faces looking at each other.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I like that because we don't do this shit, you know, but we outscoop them
Yeah,
because we can.
because we can, yeah. Crab don't have this shit. Your show's about the only show that this
Yeah, sure.
fits. The rest of the thing, the rest of the.
Because because we like it, you know.
Yeah, just, no, you're right.
Here we are live in studio, premiering Korn's first song, Never Never, in a long time. Records for days, baby. What up, John? Like that. I like that a lot. Well, there you go. A little bit of Korn. Never, Never. Brand new. Hot off the presses. Hot off the presses. Thanks, Mr. Looney, for handling all the technical stuff. Man, that was a pleasure. A buddy of mine was able to get that out here to me. And much props to the boys. Like Lord Looney said, it's been a long time. We got the privilege of growing up playing music here in Bakersfield, and all of us kind of grew up around the same time. So it's a great opportunity to see some friends coming back up and enjoying themselves, and really nice to see Brian back in the fold, Mr. Head, getting with the boys. All right, back to iBike Radio. Remember, KSVG 89.7 Savage Radio brought you that premiere. No one else could bring you something like that. No one else. Remember that, baby. Bakersfield's only independent radio, because we are connected. Our hands are in the street. We get dirty. We get down. We get grubby. Do not kid yourself. Oh, that's right. I'm back to the... Oh, okay, hold on. Back to the Lone Wolf. Woo! Ow! So I wanted to finish off the recreational part of the program as far as discussing biking and such with some national news, and I'll bring it back to local. There was some great mountain bike stuff going on this weekend. It looks to me like Todd Wells wrapped up essentially the pro mountain bike cross country series here in the U.S. And that was this weekend. Let's see, specialized these, yes. And that was a great race, though. It was a great race. I think what it was is that Todd Wells and Jeremiah Bishop, Jeremiah races for Cannondale. Both Todd and Jeremiah Bishop have been around for a long time. They are actually, it's interesting because we just talked about the doping side, and these two guys represent to me, man, it's just one of the things that's hard to express to people, but I love it about mountain biking. There's not a boatload of money. It's not what it was in the 90s. It's not what it was when Cadell Evans was crushing things. But it is where you're going to find the hardest working guys in the business, in my opinion. Todd Wells could be making good money at IBM like he was when he got out of school and quit bike racing. But he decided, I like it so much and I'm decent at it, and went back to it, and he's made a career out of it. Even though he could work anywhere, do anything, he doesn't have to suffer like that. And Jeremiah Bishop is another great longtime veteran of racing mountain bikes, and they just go at it and are such great ambassadors of the sport. But it looks like Todd got the best of Jeremiah. I know Jeremiah was just ripping it up in the beginning of the year, and Todd comes on. Todd's just he's just a force, man. The guy's been racing bikes for a really long time and is just super strong, super disciplined, and is a great rider on top of all of that. So it looks like he was able to take advantage of a couple slip-ups from Jeremiah, and that cost him it cost him a place. Essentially, he had to get 2 places ahead of Todd to be able to take the points, and since he wasn't able to do that, all Todd had to do was kind of sit on his wheel or make sure he didn't disappear on him. So at the end of the deal, it looks like they're separated by give or take 70 points, which, just to give you an idea how close their battle is, there's the first and second spot were disputed by 70 points. The next spot was disputed by 780 points. So it really was the Jeremiah Bishop Todd Wells show all year. Now on the other side of the podium, Leah Davidson, from Specialized. So again, as you see, Specialized did their job of dominating. But Leah won, and she won, I believe, this last race as well. And she still had a fairly commanding lead at around 65 points over the next competitor. But that being said, the women's race all the way through was definitely a lot more heated. And looks like then they're getting ready for the Worlds. The next World Cup race will be in Mount St. Anne, which is, I believe, up by Quebec in Connecticut. Canada. And I'm sorry. It just takes me back there. Hey, Hoser. That's my beer, Hoser. Listen, if this mouse is in this beer, you owe me a case of beer. So so some good racing. If you guys get on, I think if you go to Cycling TV, you might be able to catch a replay of the race. It was a really, really, really good race. There were some other things going on locally. Let's see. I want to kind of go back. I'm going to switch gears here for a minute, and we're going to get on to advocacy for a bit. And I'm moving some papers around. See how busy we are? Busy, 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 busy. Sounds professional. So I was able to, a lot of what I do outside of iBikeRadio is pro bono. We try to be a community face and a community resource here at iBike Kern. And I do have a business side, Kern Active Transportation. And essentially, I was asked a really good question the other day. Well, what do you do that Bike Bakersfield doesn't do? And with all due respect, I actually do the programs and make them work. So, I come up with ideas, but more than coming up with ideas, I actually put them to work. So, obviously, being that I'm Kern Active Transportation, I do things in the active transportation realm. So, part of that, and I'm going to take you on a journey here, part of that transportation, the reason that transportation matters so much as a piece of our society is that it is what we use to get to and from the marketplace and to and from our places of business and whatnot. It's how our goods and services are connected to us. So it's vital. In fact, if you look historically, any society that does not plan for its transportation needs of its lowest income group usually is destined to failure. So understanding that, opening and maintaining trade routes is what has been successful for, the Roman Empire, 900 years, the British Empire, 600 and something years. Those are the two longest empires that are in existence that we can look to. And so obviously that's where and why, having roads and sewers, etc. matter. So part of what I do as a job and part of what I do as an advocate is to focus in ahead of transportation decisions. Kern COG is a local, they're a local bureaucracy here in Bakersfield. They are the Kern Council of Governments. And so what Kern COG does is they have a staff that helps facilitate the the cities within this county or within their metropolitan planning area, MPA or something like that. And so essentially you can look at it as, Kern County. And so we have on varying Kern COG boards, you'll have members of the cities that make up Kern County, and then you'll have members from their staff that may also be on there. So you might have a mayor and then his public works director. So, and the reason why is that then they are able to get advice and or hear requirements from the state and federal level that the Kern COG staff will give them and or answer for them so that they can apply it to their local cities. Every city has to have a master plan, and every metropolitan area, as well as every county, has to have a master plan. And every metropolitan planning organization helps provide this with a guidance plan in the future. Many, when I was growing up, I was lucky enough to get wind of this through my stepmother, who did advertising and actually did some of these plans as far as the PR for them. And so I heard of the 2010 plan and the 20. Well, we are now working on the 2050 plan. So this is actually a flyer that I have in my hand. that is from this last week's show. And if you look, I'll actually have this up on my Facebook page at Zach Griffin here in a minute. But it's so it's a direction to 50/50. Please come join us. Attend a public meeting to give feedback on preliminary scenarios for the 2014 Regional Transportation Plan update. So if you look at the timeline, really by the time they get this thing rolled out, it's going to be 2015, and then that'll give us 35 years between 2015 and 2050. So the idea is that communities, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, or the Kern COG, which is our Metropolitan Planning Organization, looks at these communities and tries to help us look out for the next 35 years and see what we can expect. So, case in point, one of the things they discussed is, there we go, is that, okay, so today we have 4.6 people per acre, and by 2050 they're looking at having 6.8 people per acre. So part of the Kern COGS group and part of what they do is that they create models for where this growth will come, and so that they can try to plan where new developments are, where roads need to be, where commercial needs to be, where residential needs to be, etc. So as well as sewers and etc. All those things that facilitate the growth. So we do these plans so that we can kind of have an idea. Obviously, certain things change, and you can't always be 100% correct. But it's a great tool, and it's a great way for the community to have input on their local government to see the things that they want to have in the future. And for me, it's also akin to in debate. If you didn't bring something up in the beginning, or like with if you're an attorney, if you don't bring anything up in your opening remarks, then you can't refer to them later. And so I always look at these things as an opportunity to get your voice heard. It's not the last time, but if you don't state it this time, you're probably not going to get heard any more the next time, nor the next time. And the longer you wait, complaining about something in 2050 won't necessarily matter as much as complaining about it now. So I was happy to come to this meeting. This was on, I think this was on Wednesday. This particular flyer that I'm going to post up is for their sessions coming up on August 21st and August 27th. You'll see on the flyer they're both at different areas. One's in Fresno at the Fresno Pacific University. Oh, I'm sorry. They're both in Bakersfield. One's at the Fresno Pacific University in the Bakersfield Center, room 203, and the other one's at the Bakersfield Convention Center in the Potato Room. Anyway, that being said, I was at a meeting that was centered around the creation of this plan. So one of the things that I want to kind of mention from that was there was a gentleman who's done some work over in in Delano. And this gentleman, his name is Keith. For those who don't know what Delano's doing, I would Google Delano and their healthcare, Google Delano and their physical education. Delano suffers exactly the same issues that everyone in Kern County does. We have high economically impoverished individuals. We have a very, very high obesity rate amongst our kids, low participation rate in active transportation. So they went, and I remember this 3 or 4 years ago because I sat in a healthcare discussion and listened to the principal of Delano High School. He might have been the superintendent of their schools, but he got it. He got the fact that physical education, is more than just having everybody play Smear the Queer or playing dodgeball or some stupid, high school game made up by some stupid teacher. The idea is to teach people how to continually, to teach them education within physicality, i.e. how to maintain their physical, a sensible, well-rounded physical health throughout their lives. We're not talking about being anyone being an Adonis or some sort of lean 1% athlete, but just how to maintain. And I can actually look to this in my own personal life and see the answers for these things, because I can see generationally how much more the people 10 to 20 years above me understand that because they got it in school, whereas kids my age and below do not get it because they didn't necessarily get that in school. So the reason this gentleman came before the current COG board was twofold, but one was to show them how to sell this to their governments, to their city governments, and he wanted to offer this PowerPoint up to them, and it was a great PowerPoint because it talked about how through these meetings that we were at, these 2050 meetings, that you come up with these ideas, and these ideas are for land use, for transportation use, and from that you derive policies. And so he created this, policies then are implemented, and then da-da-da-da-da. But what he showed was that as you implement policies, if the policies can have negative or positive effects on things that then cross or don't linearly directly affect, but other items. So let's look at healthcare. Whether you are for Obamacare or against it, we have a healthcare issue. So if we could get America to improve its health by getting out of its single occupancy vehicles when it's acceptable, when it fits. Imagine the healthcare cures. Imagine if we could reduce that. Here in our own county, we spend $800 million every year. So imagine if we could affect that by 25%. How much money would be back in our pockets to be able to do more so that we wouldn't have to look to things, whether you are for or against Obamacare or not, people don't have health care because they can't afford it, because there's so many costs associated with taking care of the overburdened system already. So those things aren't directly linearly affected by like when you make these plans and then we build these houses. Those things don't just pop up; they pop up as an effect, and then they add to the other costs of the society in general. So anyway, I'm going to get this PowerPoint and I'm going to make it available on our Facebook page and as well as on our website, because I think it speaks to the realities, and it's a good tool for anyone who's looking to convey the idea of active transportation and how it affects their community economically. And another little side thing I want to mention here is that right before this gentleman came up, there were these young kids, and they had been brought to us from Greenfield, and they're really nice young kids from the Greenfield area, and they'd made two little short videos, 1-minute videos on one was on this rest stop on South H and like plans and a bus stop, and it had no shade and there were no sidewalks. But I thought the other part that was really resonating in the 1-minute documentary was that the car sounds that were zipping past this young lady as she was trying to do her interview or doing her piece. They were going. I mean, I don't know if they were going as fast as it sounded, but it sounded like they were doing 100 miles an hour. So that was humorous. But the other young man who, God, he was he was as big as I was, good strapping young guy. And he said, man, the only way I can get to school if my mom doesn't take me is that I have to wait for the bus. And it's 45 minutes to wait for the bus. And then it's 45 minutes or something to get there. And I was so an hour and a half, I guess, is what he's saying. And he says, it only takes me 45 minutes to walk to school. And so, and his issue is that it's hot. And I understand that. And I think that's, I'm glad that they were there to show that they care about their community. But I had to kind of politely ask, had he ever heard of a bicycle? Which brings up something that I'm going to end the show with here. I know I'm pushing time here right now, but it's important because I want to draw this out. Now, in the gentleman, Keith, who came up and did this PowerPoint, he discussed how in this process that we're going through, in this direction to 2050, we are creating the DNA for the future. And that sat with me because, first of all, those young people who were probably, let's just for argument's sake say they were 15, which they weren't. But in the next 35 years, those 15-year-olds are going to be 50. My 14-year-old will be, 40 or 45 or something like that. So that phrase DNA, it did hit home with me because I saw the lack of education. And what I noticed in this meeting, and I think is important to emphasize, is that we can create the best structures, the best bike lanes, the best signs, but if we don't have education, no one will adhere to them. And providing that education is the key to what will be successful. And answering the question that the gentleman asked me earlier in the show, what is it that we do that Bike Bakersfield doesn't do? Well, hopefully we get out there and we provide those answers and we make those things happen, not by standing there and looking at them, by doing them. So with that, I want to thank you guys again for showing up on Monday mornings. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and be safe out there. Keep riding your bike, and thanks again. Savage Radio 89.7. Back to the station.
SJCH Ice Center offers public skating, skate lessons, birthday party packages, youth hockey,
Done with Bike
conference
Bakersfield.
rooms with fundraising and multiple events held throughout the year. The phone number is 661-852-7400. Located at 1325 Q Street. The website is sjchicecenter.com.
Naked Owl's Tattoo. In business for over 17 years. Custom tattoos in black and gray and color. Piercings and microdermals are available. Friendly questions are welcome. Open Monday through Saturday and open late on weekends. The phone number is 327-9403. Located downtown
Don't
at
play this song.
1820
That's a little
High
late,
Street.
Mark. Sorry,
The
dog.
website is tattoo.com/naked owls.
Laura's Barbershop.
Do what?
Full
What
service
happened?
Barbershop, established in 2010 by
Play
owner and
what
operator
song?
Chris Vaughn.
Who was that?
That's a very
Oh,
With one customer at a
should have
time
said it,
calls.
Jimmy.
Family oriented,
right.
specializing in men and boys haircuts, tapers, flat tops, military high and tights, straight razor shaves and fades. Hours are Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Located at 316 Norris Road, 313-5601. Barbershop.com.
KSVG 89.7 FM, Savage Radio, City of License, Mettler, California.
That was a little late, dog. That was a little late. Don't. The fuck yes, I played that motherfucker. Don't matter. I already. Don't matter. Don't matter. What's gonna happen? They're gonna sue us. That it's not what? It's supposed to be out yet already? We. Oh yeah. Yeah. Text Brian, find out. I'm go to work. All right. Love you.
What was that all
Oh
about?
no, he was saying he was getting conflicting things on Facebook with people saying, "Well, that's not their song." It's like,
Oh,
okay.
How was that?
Daughter's a good fate.
We went in and wrote a Korn song and then played them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh no, that was the old Swag 667. Sorry, Bill.
Sorry.
It was a song we recorded without you.
Sounded just like.
Right.